Section 4.1 part 4, we're actually going to solve a linear programming method problem using the simplex method. We'll start with the objective function and the linear constraints, translate them into the tableau, and then solve the tableau, and then find the solution. So one step at a time. The first thing we're going to do is recognize we need to translate each of these so we can put them into the tableau. So if you remember right, we want to keep the profit positive. So that means moving the x and the y terms to the same side. So this equation translates into a negative 10x minus 12y plus p is equal to 0. And that'll be the final row in the tableau. Both of these are already less than, so we can take them the way they are. We're going to use a slack variable of u in the first one and v in the second one. And again, that's to translate from the inequality statement into the equality statement. The slack variables take up whatever slack there is in that inequality. So this would be x plus 2y plus u is equal to 12. And our final equation will be 3x plus 2y plus v is equal to 24. Okay, now we're going to come in and write the tableau. So our columns are an x, a y, the u, the v, the p, and then the constants. And I'm just going to use a capital C for constants to make it easier on us. Let's pick up our slack variable, or the equation with the u as the first row. 1, 2, 1, 0, 0, 12. We'll pick up our other equation that's the constraint with the slack variable of v as our second row. And then finally, we have our profit equation, which has a negative 10, a negative 12, 0, 0, 1 for the p, and that's equal to 0. So the first step is to identify the pivot column. That's the most negative of the two negative numbers. So for us, that's going to be this column. And then to figure out the pivot element, we come and find the ratio. So we're going to take 12 and divide it by 2. 12 divided by 2 is 6. 24 divided by 2 is 12. And we pick the smaller one. So that makes this 2 right here our pivot element. Now that we've identified the pivot element, we're going to come in and transform this row. We need this guy to be a 1. So we'll come in and do 1/2 of row 1. X, Y, U, V, P, and C. So taking half of that row is going to give me a 1/2, a 1, a 1/2, 0, 0, and half of 12, which is 6. The other two rows we didn't change, so we'll just copy them over. So 3, 2, 0, 1, 0, 24, and then the negative 10, the negative 12, 0, 0, 1, and 0. So all we've done is transform the one pivot element. But we're after a unit column, so that tells me that this 2 and this negative 12 need to be transformed into zeros. And to do that, we'll add the rows together. So to get the 0 in row 2, we're going to start with row 2 and do 2 minus row 1. To get the 0 here, we'll do row 3 plus 12 times row 1. And again, we're manipulating the 1 that we've already established in our unit column. Okay, that'll give us X, Y, U, V, P, and C. Top row is still the 1/2, the 1, the 1/2, the 0, the 0, and the 6. Our next row, though, becomes 2, 0, negative 1, 1, 0, and 12. Again, I've already done the math for us. You can, of course, double check it. You're taking this 3 minus 2 times this 1/2. Well, 2 times 1/2 is 1. 3 minus 1 gives us our 2. So that definitely works. And the bottom row becomes negative 4, 0, 6, 0, 1, 72. Again, you can check those guys. What we're taking is a negative 10 and adding 12 times 1/2. Well, 12 times 1/2 is 6. Negative 10 plus 6 is that negative 4. And we did the same thing all the way across. So we look at the tableau and say, well, is it finished? Are we in our final form? And unfortunately, no, because we still have a negative in that bottom row. And that negative establishes our pivot column. We only have one, but that's our pivot column. To figure out the pivot element, we're going to come and take each of the constants and divide them by the elements that are in that row. So this would be 6 divided by 1/2, which is really 6 times 2 or 12. This would be 12 divided by 2, which is 6. So this is definitely the smaller one. There's our pivot element. So we need that guy to be a 1. We'll come in and take what? 1/2 of that row. So we're going to do 1/2 row 2. So we have our X, our Y, our U, our V, our P, and our constant. We're not manipulating the top row. We'll copy it over, 1/2, 1, 1/2. You do a lot of copying, don't you? 0, 0, 6. Be careful, because if you're making a mistake, it could be a copying error. So let's multiply that row by 1/2. 2 times 1/2 is 1. Half of 0 is 0. Half of a -1 is -1/2. Half of 1 is positive 1/2. Half of 0, and then half of 12, which gives me a 6. And then the bottom row is the way it is. We're not touching it. So we'll copy it over. -4, 0, 6, 0, 1, and the 72. Okay. So again, we're working on this column. We now know that we need to make this 1/2 into a 0 and this -4 into a 0 in order to create the unit column in that one. To get this guy to be the 0, we're going to take row 1 and subtract 1/2 of row 2. So that's this 1/2 minus 1/2 times 1. That's going to give us a 0. To get this guy as a 0, we'll do row 3 plus 4 times row 2. So if I take -4 plus 4 times 1, I'm going to get a 0. And of course, I've already done that. So we now have, once we've done that final manipulation, we now have the 0, 1, 3/4, 1/4, 0, 9. The next row we didn't transform, so 0, 1, -1/2, 1/2, 0, 6. And then 0, 0, 4, 2, 1, and 96. And again, you can check these pretty easily. If we come in and take this 1/2 minus 1/2 times 1, we'll get our 0. If we take our -4 plus 4 times 1, we'll get a 0. And we simply did that all the way across. So we now are done, and we know we're done because we have no negatives in that bottom row. So we know the tableau is finished. So now we can come in and pick up our basic solution. The basic solution includes all the variables. So we know that x, that's this guy right here, there's a 1 here, so it's equal to the 6. So x is equal to 6. Y, which is our next column right up here, this 1 is equal to 9. Now I have a u is equal to 0 because it's not a unit column. V is equal to 0 also because it is not a unit column. And then finally we have p right here is equal to 96. You know, these guys are not really part of the solution. Your book calls it the basic solution, so it includes all the variables, but in terms of an actual answer, what we're after are these guys. So we know that at the point 6, 9, we have a maximum profit of 96. And that's starting with the equations and ending up with a final solution.